Bryson is your tournament favorite at 12-1, followed by DJ at 13, Patrick Cantlay at 16, Paul Casey at 18, Brooks Koepka at 18, Brian Harman at 20, Patrick Reed at 22, Scotty Scheffler at 25, Abraham Ancer 28, Tony Finau 28, Kevin Streelman at 30. It is a strange board.
So it's interesting. Looking statistically at the things that have been significant on this golf course, it's kind of hard to extract any great information. So the average strokes gained rank of winners at this tournament since 2010, it's actually kind of down across the board in terms of comparing to the PGA Tour average. There's nothing that really sticks out. Approach play is actually significantly less important. Part of the reason of that is from 2016 to 2020, more than 6,000 approach shots at this tournament from 50 to 125 yards. You got a lot of short approaches, a lot of wedges into greens. Only 2 PGA Tour courses had more in that span. Pebble Beach, the shortest golf course basically in professional golf, and Silverado. So you're going to have a lot of shots from 50 to 125. So there's an interesting mix of guys who've had a lot of success here, guys who hit it a mile and are able to hit their wedges well and win that way. But, I mean, Ken Duke won this golf tournament in his late 40s. Corey Pavin almost won it the year Bubba Watson won it in 2010. I mean, there's a really interesting dichotomy of players all over the board, which is a long way of saying this is a tough tournament to pick. I mean, you got to like about 63 holes of what Bryson DeChambeau did last week. Dustin coming off a win here last year. Interestingly enough, DJ drove it horribly in this tournament last year. He was like 50th in strokes gained off the tee, and he won, which is really interesting considering what we know Dustin Johnson for. And then a guy who I probably like most at the top of the board is going to be Patrick Cantlay. Had an awesome, he shot a 60 here as an amateur 10 years ago.
Almost holed out on 9 with his last hole for a 59.
Yeah, the last 5 years, he's second in scoring average here to Paul Casey, who's 4th on the board. I think Cantlay's probably where I go here a few weeks after his win at the Memorial. Wondering what you like at the top.
Okay, so first of all, Cantlay's a fade for me. And I didn't look at the final stats from Torrey, and I get it. He just won. And I get that I'm putting myself out there for ridicule. But Patrick Cantlay's putting stroke to me looks absolutely atrocious right now. He's bringing that putter head back.
I know Rahm had the big lead, but
he's getting that putter head back 18 inches, completely decelling at impact. And it's like, I don't even want to watch it. Like,
yeah,
when it can still go in, and it goes in. And when it goes in, you're kind of surprised that it goes in. And when it doesn't go in, you're like, oh my God, that looks awful. And I get it. Like, he wasn't putting much differently 2 weeks ago and he won. So I completely understand that my eyeball test does not hold any weight against the analytics and the data and everything else that we have these days. But I just don't want a part of him when he's putting like that. It just looks so bad to me.
So I'm ignoring the visual aspect. And I mentioned the statistic about the shots from 50 to 125. Cantlay, since the beginning of last season, is among the leaders in scoring when he's in that situation, 50 to 125 yards away from the hole. So I think maybe he'll put himself in enough. That putting stroke it's not too nervous. You can get it to 4 feet, 3 feet, with those close approaches. So I still kind of like him statistically going into the week.
I'm trying to find strokes gained from Torrey Pines right here. You probably have it.
I'm not looking at it right now, right away. I will say, too, the guy at the top of the board has a lot of really impressive numbers in this tournament the last few years. 37 under par the last 3 years of the Travelers, best of any player. Paul Casey second at 35 under. 5.2 birdies or better per round for Bryson at the Travelers the last 3 years. That's the best of any player. So he's got some good numbers going in for this tournament in terms of past history. And if you just ignore the 44 he had on the back 9 at Torrey Pines, you're flying high here with the guys at the top of the board. But I like Cantlay a little bit more with his value at 16-1 more so than Bryson.
All right. I still like Casey again. I actually think Casey coming off a major should play better. I don't know why I keep going back to the Casey well time after time, but I still like it. By the way, Brian Harman is one of those numbers that you stare at it and you look at, he's shorter odds than Patrick Reed and Scotty Scheffler and Ancer and Finau and Neiman. Like, why? And then you stare at it long enough. You stare at it long enough and you're like, I don't know. Somebody knows something that I don't know. So maybe I should just play him this week, even though that doesn't make any sense.
Tied for
Yeah.
third in birdie average this tournament the last 3 years. Nearly won a few years ago when Bubba Watson won in a monsoon. I think it was like 2017 when that happened. Has got some good history on this golf course. Lefties have succeeded in the past year too. I don't know if it's something to do with the shot shape or whatever it is, but with Bubba breaking through and getting his first win, winning here twice, Harmon's nearly won here. Some interesting history there with left-handed players.
Honestly, most of my favorite players here are in this mid tier. Keegan Bradley, I've been waiting for him to pop if he putts pretty well, which he usually does in the New England area. I mean, this is, sort of a home game for him going back to New England, has a lot of fan support. He's 45-1 this week. Bubba Watson, look, I get the whole course history thing. Brian Harmon's 20-1, Kevin Strillman's 30-1. What I don't get is if they're 20-1 and 30-1, why is Bubba Watson, a three-time champion, 50-1?
I'm with you.
Played pretty well for a few days. That's a big number for Bubba. And then the two guys that I had targeted for a while, Justin Rose was terrible last week. Went 78-77 at Torrey, a former champion there, the Farmers, and missed the cut by a mile. I went back and looked. Justin Rose tends to bounce back really quickly. He had no form. He was off for 5 weeks after withdrawing from the API and was 36-hole leader at the Masters, finished in 7th. Then he missed the cut at Tampa and finished 8th at the PGA. Well, now he's coming off a badly missed cut at Torrey. And so I just think conventional wisdom says, all right, well, fade him once again. He just tends to bounce back from these things. And I liked him going into Torrey. And so I still like him now. 55-1, I think, is a huge number on Justin Rose. I don't feel great about it, but I'm not really sure I like anybody else much better. And then Ricky Fowler announced on Monday that he and his wife, Allison, are due with the couple's first child later this year. So congratulations to the Fowler family. And I think Ricky's going to start playing some really good golf. I like him to be in the mix. He's 70-1. Not sure I'm taking him outright, but for a top 5, top 10, I think he's a nice play.